My parents stole the inheritance my grandmother left me and spent it on my twins' lavish wedding. When I confronted them, they said, "It's not that big of a deal. Family helps family." Heartbroken, I cut them off, but 2 years later, they came to me for help when my mother's life hung in the balance. Hi, I'm Angela, 30, and the story I'm about to tell you will leave you speechless. Maybe even angry. Before we begin, tell me where you're listening from. I need to see I'm not alone. And subscribe if you believe in justice. Let's dive in. I had a twin sister named Ashley. While they adored her, my parents seemed to hate me simply for being born. Ashley and I were born 15 minutes apart. Just 15 minutes. But in my family, those 15 minutes made all the difference in the world. When my mother got pregnant, she only expected one baby. But the doctors didn't see me on the early scans. I was hidden behind Ashley, tucked away where no one was looking. So when Ashley was born and my mother thought it was over, the doctors said something that changed everything. "Wait, there's another one." My mother was shocked. My father was furious. They were angry at the doctors for not spotting me in early scans. They had planned for one child. And suddenly, there I was, the baby they never asked for. From that day forward, I was the unwanted child. Ashley was celebrated for everything. I was tolerated at best. Growing up, the pattern was relentless. I ranked top 5 nationally in a science competition. My parents barely mentioned it. Ashley participated in a local school event. They called all the relatives and posted photos everywhere. By 8th grade, I qualified for the state math competition. I practiced for months, barely slept the week before. I placed second in the entire state. I came home holding the trophy, my hands trembling. My parents were sitting in the living room. I walked in and held it up. My mother glanced at it. "That's nice, sweetie." Then she turned to my father. "Did you hear? Ashley's soccer team might make regionals." I stood there for a moment, then walked to my room and cried into my pillow. I never showed them another trophy after that. The only person who ever made me feel like I mattered was my grandmother. She asked about my dreams, noticed how my parents treated me, and constantly reminded them that I deserved better. At 14, I gathered my courage and told my parents I wanted to study medicine. My mother's face twisted. "Over our dead body. After what that hospital did to us, you think we'll let you become one of them?" My father nodded. "If you go down that path, you're on your own. Don't expect a dime from us." I stood there, frozen. Then I walked to my room and closed the door. I cried into my pillow that night. High school became my battleground. I took every AP class available. I led science projects. I volunteered at clinics. I studied until my eyes burned. When graduation came, I was named valedictorian. I earned a partial scholarship to Johns Hopkins University. I told my parents at dinner one evening. I got into Johns Hopkins with a scholarship. My father looked at me coldly. "You're making a mistake, but it's your life to waste." My mother said nothing. 2 weeks later, they threw Ashley a celebration dinner when she got into community college. Meanwhile, I had no idea that a far greater betrayal had happened at my birth until a family member told me. During my second year of medical school, I came home for Thanksgiving. Late in the evening, my Uncle Ben pulled me aside in the hallway. He had been drinking, and his eyes were glassy. "Angela," he said quietly, "there's something you should know." He told me the truth. After I was born, my parents tried to put me up for adoption. They filled out papers. They contacted agencies. "But your grandmother found out," he continued. "She called them, screamed at them, threatened to take custody of you herself. She even signed guardianship papers to block it." I stood there, the party noise fading into the background. My ears rang. My vision blurred at the edges. "They kept me because Grandma forced them to?" Uncle Ben nodded. "I'm sorry, kid. I thought you should know." The floor felt unsteady beneath my feet. I reached out to brace myself against the wall. I excused myself and locked myself in the bathroom. I sat on the edge of the tub, my hands pressed against my mouth to muffle the sound. I wasn't crying. I was shaking. My whole body trembled, like I'd been dropped into ice water. 15 minutes behind Ashley. That's all it took to become disposable. I splashed cold water on my face and stared at myself in the mirror. My reflection looked hollow. I thought about every time I'd tried to earn their love. But you can't earn love from people who decided you were a burden before you took your first breath. When I finally left the bathroom, I avoided everyone. I grabbed my coat and headed for the door. My mother caught me in the foyer. "Angela, where are you going? We haven't even had dessert yet." I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a cold, empty recognition. "I need to go," I said. She frowned. "Is something wrong?" The question was almost funny. Is something wrong? Everything was wrong. Everything had always been wrong. "Did you try to give me up for adoption?" I asked, my voice flat. Her face went pale. For a second, just a second, I saw the truth in her eyes. Then she recovered, her expression hardening into defensiveness.
"Who told you that?"
"Does it matter?" She glanced toward the living room where the party continued, then lowered her voice. "Angela, that was a complicated time. We weren't expecting. You weren't expecting me," I finished. "I know. I was the surprise. The unwanted one. But did you actually try to get rid of me?" "Don't be dramatic. We were young. We were overwhelmed. Your father and I explored our options, that's all." Explored our options. Like I was a car lease they were trying to get out of. "And Grandma stopped you." My mother's jaw tightened. "Your grandmother overreacted. She didn't understand the financial strain of having 2 children at once. We were just trying to figure things out. You were trying to figure out how to keep Ashley and get rid of me." My father appeared behind her. "What's going on?" My mother turned to him, flustered. "She knows. About the adoption thing." My father's expression didn't change. He looked at me with the same cold indifference I'd seen my entire life. "That was a long time ago, Angela. Let it go." I was stunned. "You wanted to give me away," I said, my voice shaking. "And when you couldn't, you spent 20 years punishing me for existing." "No one punished you," my father said sharply. "You always had food, clothes, a bed. What more do you want?" "I wanted parents who loved me." The words hung in the air. My mother looked away. My father's face remained stone. I walked out, got in my car, gripped the steering wheel, and sat there in the cold November night. I didn't cry. I just sat there, breathing, letting the truth settle over me like a weight I'd been carrying all along without knowing it.
"They didn't want me. They never wanted me."
Something shifted in me after that. I stopped trying to win their love. I threw myself into my studies. I graduated medical school. I got a job at a hospital, worked long hours, saved my money, and built a life I was proud of.
My parents didn't ask about my job.
They were too busy planning Ashley's wedding to some guy she met at a bar. 3 months before Ashley's wedding, my parents insisted I come home for what they called a family planning meeting. I had a bad feeling about it, but I went anyway. When I arrived, Ashley was already there, sitting at the dining table with wedding magazines spread out in front of her. My parents sat on either side of her like royal advisors. My mother smiled tightly. "Angela, sit down. We need to discuss something important." I sat across from them. The tension in the room was thick. My father cleared his throat. "Ashley's wedding is going to be a significant event, a reflection of our family. We want to make sure everyone contributes appropriately." I felt my stomach tighten. "Contributes?" Ashley leaned forward, her voice sweet but condescending. "It's just that, you're doing so well with your career. And I'm starting a new life with William. Mom and Dad have been so generous with the planning, but there are still expenses. You want me to pay for your wedding?" I asked flatly. My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Not pay for it. Just help. You don't have the same financial pressures Ashley does. She's building a family. You're just working." "I'm a doctor," I said, my voice steady. "I worked my way through medical school. I have student loans." Ashley sighed dramatically.
"See?
This is exactly what I told you. Angela always makes everything about her struggles. Can't you just be happy for me for once?" Something snapped inside me. Happy for you? I've been happy for you my entire life, Ashley. And you know it. The room went silent. My father's face hardened. That's enough. We're trying to have a civil conversation about family support. Civil. I laughed bitterly. You want to talk about civil? When was the last time you asked about my life? When was the last time you celebrated anything I did? My mother stood up. You're being dramatic. We've always supported you. No, I said, standing as well. You've always tolerated me. There's a difference. Ashley crossed her arms.
Wow.
I can't believe how selfish you're being right now. This is my wedding. My special day. And you're making it about your childhood grudges. I looked at her, then pursed my lips. I'm not giving you money for your wedding, I said quietly. Then I grabbed my purse and walked out. As I reached my car, I heard Ashley yell from the doorway. Don't bother coming to the wedding if that's how you feel. I drove away, without looking back. I didn't speak to them for weeks after that. Then one day, my mother called. You're coming to the wedding, right? She asked, as if nothing had happened. It would look bad if you didn't show up. I should have said no. But I didn't want to give them another reason to call me the problem child. I'll be there, I said. I went. I smiled. I left early. But what I didn't know was that while I was there, playing the dutiful daughter, they had already taken something from me. Something precious. Something that wasn't theirs to take. When I turned 30, I decided to do something special. My grandmother had left me an inheritance fund years ago. She made me promise not to touch it until I became a doctor. When you do, she had said, buy something that reminds you of this moment. I wanted to buy a stethoscope engraved with her name. A tribute to the only person who ever believed in me. I was that successful doctor now, and it felt right to use the inheritance money. I went online to check the account, and what I saw made my head light. The account was nearly empty. My grandmother's gift gone. It couldn't be. I had never touched this account. I scrolled through the transaction history, my breath catching in my throat. Withdrawals.
Dozens of them.
Small ones at first, scattered over years. Then larger amounts. Then massive ones. The biggest withdrawal was dated 2 years ago. The exact month of Ashley's wedding. $25,000. Gone in a single transaction. The only persons who could have done this were my parents. They had guardianship access to the account from when I was younger. I'd never thought to remove them. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. This wasn't just about money. This was my grandmother's love. Her final gift. The one thing that was supposed to be mine and mine alone. And they'd stolen it. I grabbed my phone and called them. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold it. My mother answered. Angela, is everything okay? Did you take money from my inheritance account? There was a pause. A long, telling pause. Then she sighed. Oh, Angela. We were going to tell you, eventually. Ashley needed help with the wedding, and we knew you'd understand. You're so focused on your career, we didn't think you'd mind. You stole from me. We didn't steal. We borrowed. We'll pay you back when we can. My father got on the line. It's not that big of a deal. Family helps family. Those words. Family helps family. I felt something cold settle in my chest. My father continued. The money went to a good cause, Angela. Ashley's wedding was beautiful. You saw yourself.
I had seen it.
The ice sculptures. The live band. The designer dress. The destination bachelorette party. Every dollar of it paid for with my inheritance. Grandma left that money for me, I said, my voice breaking. She made you promise to keep it safe. And we did, my mother said defensively. We kept it in the family. Ashley is family. So am I. Of course you are, sweetie. But you're different. You've always been so independent. Ashley needs more support. I closed my eyes. After everything, they still didn't see it. They still didn't understand. Don't contact me again, I said quietly. Angela, don't be dramatic. I hung up. I blocked their numbers. I deleted them from social media. I erased them from my life. The months that followed were the best I'd ever had. Out of frustration, I poured myself into my job at the hospital. I bought a house. I got a promotion. I made real friends who celebrated my wins and supported me through hard days. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing approval. I was free. 1 year later, I was at Walmart buying groceries when my phone rang. An unknown number. Angela, Uncle Ben said, his voice strained. Your mother collapsed 5 days ago. She's in the hospital. She needs surgery. My stomach dropped. Why didn't my father call? Or Ashley? They didn't think you'd answer. They were right. Angela, please. She needs $20,000. Their insurance lapsed. They don't have the money. That's not my problem. I know what they did to you. I know they don't deserve your help. But she's your mother. He pleaded. She stopped being my mother a long time ago. I hung up. When I sat in my car in the parking lot, staring at the steering wheel, my hands were shaking. Then my phone rang again. My father. I answered. Angela, he said quietly. Your mother collapsed. The doctors say she needs surgery, or she might not make it. We need $20,000. I know we haven't been good to you, but please, she's your mother. And just like that, he tried to reopen a door I had already nailed shut. I closed my eyes. I wanted to scream at him, but instead I said, I'll send some money. I hung up. I went home. I transferred $10,000, half of what they asked for. The next morning, Ashley called. Why did you only send half? Mom needs the full amount. How can you be so selfish? Something inside me snapped. Selfish? You have no right to tell me how to spend my money. You've never worked for anything in your life. You've never been ignored, overlooked, or treated like a mistake. So don't you dare call me selfish. But she's our mother. She's your mother. She stopped being mine a long time ago. I hung up before she could respond. That evening, I sat on my couch and cried. Not out of sadness. Out of rage and exhaustion. I whispered to myself, enough. I've had enough. Then I remembered my grandmother. I went to my bedroom and opened the top drawer of the bedside stool. Inside was a small wooden box with photos and a little diary she had written in. I flipped through the pages until I found one entry. Forgiveness is a healing balm. It is not about others. It's about freeing yourself. But forgiveness doesn't mean letting them hurt you again.
Be strong.
Set boundaries. Live your life for you. I closed the diary and held it to my chest. I decided I would visit the hospital, not because they deserved it, but because I refused to become like them. Emory University Hospital, Atlanta was cold and sterile. I walked through the halls until I found my mother's room, and nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. My mother was in a coma, tubes connected to her arms and face. The same hospital she hated. The same doctors she despised. They were keeping her alive. My father was sitting beside her bed. He looked older, tired, broken. My father looked up. Angela, you came.
I didn't respond.
I walked over to my mother's bedside and gently took her hand. I felt pity. Not love, just pity. My father stood. I'm sorry. For everything. I know we failed you. I know we hurt you. Please forgive us. I turned to him. I've already forgiven you. Not for you. For me. So I can move on. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I stayed for 30 more minutes. Then I left. Ashley was standing in the doorway. She looked smaller somehow. Her designer clothes were wrinkled. Her makeup smudged. She didn't say anything at first. Just stared at me. You came, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I did. She stepped into the room, glancing at our mother, then back at me. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't. We stood there in silence. The machines beeped steadily. My father sat back down, pretending not to listen. Ashley wrapped her arms around herself. I didn't know about the adoption thing. Uncle Ben told me last week. I nodded slowly. Okay. I wanted you to know that. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen before. Guilt, maybe. or the beginning of understanding. But it was too late for that. Too much had been broken. "I hope you have a good life, Ashley," I said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. "Angela, I mean it. I hope you're happy." She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it. She nodded once, then stepped aside to let me pass. I walked out of the room, down the hallway, through the automatic doors. The cold air hit my face, and I stopped for a moment, breathing it in. Uncle Ben somehow got to know about everything that happened between my parents and I, and told the rest of the family. Word spread quickly. About the stolen inheritance. About Ashley's entitlement. About how I had become successful despite everything. Some relatives reached out to apologize. Some tried to justify my parents' actions. I didn't engage. I returned to my life. I closed the chapter on my toxic family. I embraced my independence, my success, and my freedom. For the first time, I wasn't defined by what they thought of me. I was defined by what I had built for myself. And that was more than enough. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. You're not alone in your struggles. And sometimes, choosing yourself is the bravest thing you can do.